Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark LeGrand. I head up the sales efforts here at Quigley Transportation. If you're curious why I'm not on video, is I've got a camera issue today and I do not want to be a distraction for today's webinar. We got a lot of great information to share with you, hopefully add value to you and your organization. So just real briefly, for those of you and a number of you on this webinar today are returning guests, thank you for coming back and being part of the monthly webinars that we're hosting. For those of you that are first-time attendees, simply welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Quick background, Brett and I, with COVID and the whole pandemic, took a look at 2021 and said, how can we add value and give back in some hopefully meaningful way or even a little way? We did a quick survey of the people we work with, and we asked them what the most critical issues or challenges that owner-operators, carriers, and the drivers are facing in 2021. And based on that feedback, we've set up a monthly webinar. So for those of you first timers, in January, we did an hours of service and ELD webinar. In February, driver qualification file requirements. In March, we did managing your CSA data and FMCSA portal. And then today's webinar, Telematics Beyond ELD, was born out of follow-up questions that we received from the January webinar. So Brett and I know a lot of things, but one thing we know really well is we don't know everything. And so today we invited two guest speakers to present and share some ideas with you, specifically around the type of questions that we received after the January webinar. And we're excited to have them. They're experts in their field. They live in that space, and so we wanted somebody that would be the most beneficial for you to hear from, not from Brett and myself. So again, just a simple welcome. All of these webinars, both the slide deck and the video recording, are free. They're yours if you would like them to share with your team members, anybody else in your organization that might help you with policies, procedures, what type of equipment you're going to look at down the road, whatever the case may be. Just feel free to reach out to Brett or myself and we'll get you whatever information you're looking for specific to a webinar from that perspective. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brett Quigley, our president and founder of Quigley Transportation, for a brief introduction. Then Brett is going to introduce both of our guest speakers and we'll jump right in. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mark. First of all, I'm going to stop my video so you don't have to become distracted with mine either. So good afternoon, everyone. I just want to, again, as Mark mentioned, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to participate in what is now our fourth monthly webinar. As Mark mentioned, this month we're going to be focusing on maximizing your telematics data, which is provided by your ELD system. First, a little background on myself as well as Quigley Transportation Management Solutions. So having over 40 years of experience managing 3 of the nation's 100 largest private fleets, I embarked on a opportunity earlier last year and formed Quigley Transportation Management Solutions. And in the process, I handpicked a team of consultants that I've worked with for years that demonstrated to me an excellent base of knowledge, work ethic, as well as a commitment to success that they could translate on to our customer base. So together, we're leveraging our decades of experience to assist smaller companies reduce their transportation costs while improving their compliance and ultimately reducing their liability risk. So one thing, as the slide says here, we're in the pain relief business. And by this, what I mean is that we help our clients relieve pain that they have relative to DOT compliance and fleet management. And this could be, whether it be through the administration of various programs, a lot of times it's financial pain, having to employ additional people, pay fines, or what we're seeing with a lot of our clients today is where they're losing significant revenue as a result of a compromised safety rating, which we're helping them correct. So not only do we offer consulting services, but we also offer a wide range of other fleet and DOT compliance related services that we can tailor to a carrier specific need. So we offer those a la carte. So if you have any interest in that, we can certainly give you more information. So as Mark mentioned, working with our clients, we've identified that one area of pain is how to best manage all the data that you get out of your ELD system and ensure that you remain compliant with the regulations at the same time. So we thought it would be beneficial to invite two of the industry's experts to discuss these topics and answer specific questions that any of you may have today or even in the future if you happen to think of something that that you later. Feel free to reach out to Mark or myself, and we'll get the answers from our guests. So with that, today I have the pleasure of welcoming our guest presenters from Pedigree Technologies, Angela Shue, Executive Vice President, and Jim Senger, which is our VP of Oil and Gas. So just a little bit of background. I'm sure Jim's going to provide more information on Pedigree, but having been a previous customer of Pedigree and user of Pedigree, I can attest to the quality of their system as compared to some of the others out there that I've also dealt with. They're a leading provider of telematics solutions. Their platform, OneView, is the most versatile and customizable fleet management system with immediate visibility and expandable applications for your operation. So with that, I will turn the presentation over to Jim. And Jim, I think you can start presenting.
Okay, thanks, Brett. Appreciate that. I'm going to start. Appreciate the intro and happy to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. I should be sharing. Am I good to go on your end, Brett?
I see it. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, so I'm going to give you. We're going to try to give you some content that's valuable to you today. And then we're going to open it up for question and answer. So as far as the agenda, we're going to lay a little foundation on Pedigree, who we are, what do we do, what's our product portfolio look like, what markets do we go after, and then most important, which is the title of the session today, how do we drive more value beyond ELD with the products that we already have. And so we have 5 case studies that we're going to kind of highlight some features and applications on how you could use the data or how our customers are currently using the data. And again, submit questions or save them till the end. We're really doing this for everyone on the call. So we really appreciate and look forward to your questions. So getting into a little history of Pedigree, just as an overview, we've been in business for over 15 years. We're headquartered in North Dakota. Our team members are scattered throughout the country from California to, Atlanta, all over Florida. We got people all over the country, like most people do nowadays with working remotely and the new normal that we're all getting used to. So we started really as a platform, specifically in agriculture. We were monitoring sugar beet piles, and that kind of evolved to the military catching wind and asking us to bid on this military contract. We won that. We deployed that for several years, and then we moved into the commercial market, adding devices and services to our portfolio, eventually forming verticals with specialized sales and onboarding and training members around the verticals of transportation, oil and gas, construction, rental, environmental, and of course ag. So that's a little background on kind of who we are. What do we do? We have a pretty broad product portfolio. We call this just our pizza analogy, 8 slices of pizza. Most of our competitors don't have this many applications in their portfolio. So at the end of the day, it's kind of investment protection because not everyone starts all in. And usually once they start seeing the value, they want to bring other devices into the platform. So as you can see, we have ELD in here, but we also do light duty field forms and dispatching and navigation, cameras, We have high value trackers that we can track pretty much anything, equipment, tanks, and we have a maintenance module. So that's how we drive our value to our customers. Is one unique thing about Pedigree is we're hardware neutral and we're network neutral. So we work on any network, whether it be satellite, whether it be cellular, whether it be AT&T, Verizon, Bell in Canada, T-Mobile, Sprint. We support all those networks. We have some south of the border in other countries as well. So we have lots of different networks, and we have lots of different hardware. There isn't one size fits all for the right device. So we offer a combination of devices for pretty much every application that you could think of. We probably either have a device or one that could be modified to work with it. So that's really, not everyone has got the same units that they want to track. So we provide a pretty broad portfolio. Since this is kind of evolving around ELD today, or that's the center stone of the topic, we do have 3 platforms for ELD. You can bring your own device, an Android tablet. We have an all-in-one, which we call the CabMate 1. It's a one-wire, 10-minute install, very, very easy. We also support another product called the CabMate Connect that's similar to our CabMate 1. However, it supports additional inputs that the other ones cannot. So if you have some unique applications, we can connect those, and that's the product that we would choose for that application. So now the meat and potatoes that everyone's looking for. How can I get my data beyond ELD? Well, we're going to give you 5 use cases today. The first one's going to be scorecards. So now that you have an ELD system and a software platform, and you have basically all of these new data points containing on your fleet and your drivers, what do you do with it? What can you do with it? Well, the first thing you can do is Scorecards is probably our most popular application. It allows you to take the data that you already have available, set some benchmarks, measure those benchmarks, monitor those benchmarks, reward your safety drivers, and review your lower performers so that you can take corrective action and try to keep your whole fleet up. You can see we have some screenshots. We have a desktop version of our software. The drivers in the cab on the tablet, they have visibility real time to their scores, so they have they can actually see how they're being scored, which gives them a better understanding of their driving behavior and the impacts that has when it rolls up to a scorecard. And then we also have a mobile app. So you might have some people that use ELD, but they're not driving today, or they need to log in and go on duty not driving, but they don't have a tablet with them. So we do have a mobile app. It's not an ELD platform, but it does allow you to see your scorecards, your logs, and other data points that are made available by the administrator in your system based on permissions. So Scorecards is really popular. We have some boilerplate templates that take the most important or most popular events, like speeding in the city, speeding on the highway, heavy on the brakes, heavy on the gas, idling percentage, maybe you want that factored in. There's a lot after hours usage if you have company assigned vehicles. There's a lot of different data points that we can help tweak with you, but ultimately you have this big garbage can of data, and how do you make sense of it? Well, this scorecards is a very effective way to give you an eyeball glance of, is my fleet at an A, B, C, or where are we at? And where are the items of concern that I can focus on? So scorecards is number one. Number two application that a lot of people use is, we call it communications. This is a screenshot of the menu of the software that's on the ELD device in the cab using the Pedigree software. There's a communications button. It's kind of like messaging, except you can, it's really easy to attach files or documents or pictures. So we call it communication because it's a little bit beyond just straight up messaging. You can message, the office can push messages to individual drivers or groups of drivers. Driver to driver can message back and forth. Drivers can message to the office. So it's a full-blown messaging system with a paper trail that's in the system. So what we've asked our customers about the messaging or our communications, and asked them why they use it specifically, and we get the same answers a lot of times. It's usually related to companies that don't buy employee cell phones or reimburse employees for cell phones. So they want to protect company documents. I always ask, if you need to, if a driver reaches out to you now, what does that look like? And usually the answer is, well, normally the drivers will, when they're pulled over, they'll text me a message, or they might call me if they're using their headset in the truck. Well, that's good, but if you're somewhere and someone missed a piece of paper that they need, shipping document number, whatever, and you need to get it to that driver in a short term, how do you do that? A lot of people said, well, normally we just send it over text message, and then he can open it on his phone, and well, what if that's a proprietary confidential document? Do you want that on an employee's cell phone, where even when it's been delivered, you don't have control of it anymore? So probably not a good idea. When you're doing text messaging, there's no paper trail. So if something does happen where you need to look at the dialogue, if you would, rewind the clock a little bit, you can't do that. So, and in addition to that, we do offer read receipt. So we get comments a lot from people. I'm in Denver, right on the foothills, so we get a lot of winter storms out of nowhere, and there's a lot of people that push messages to a group saying, bad weather coming, get back to the office by 1, we're going to shut down for the afternoon. And they have the visibility of seeing each driver and who read it and who didn't read it. So it's also used for safety training next Tuesday, and there's always people that, I didn't get that memo. Yeah, you did. We can see that. So communications is our second highlight. The third thing that we're going to talk about is the digital library. This is a feature that Pedigree has. It's based on permissions. As you can see, it's just a button right on the tablet. It's essentially document management on demand. It's really cool. You can manage it from the back office, again, based on permissions. You can attach anything you want, whether it be a PDF or whether it be a photo or whether it be a Word document, whatever you have. You can attach it to either drivers, so like driver's license, any endorsements that they have for their license, maybe medical card. You can attach stuff to assets, like think of taking a picture of each vehicle and having it at your fingertips. Something happens to a vehicle and you're trying to explain to the sheriff that, truck 400 is missing. Well, now you can actually show them a picture and take one step further and text it to them. So picture's worth 1,000 words. A lot of people use pictures on every asset. You can attach registration, proof of insurance, and you can also attach not only to drivers, but you could say to regions. So this region, let's say in Colorado in this instance, I'm going to share my emergency contact document. So anyone that needs it, it's always, in the form, the hierarchy of who to contact for what level of emergency is right on the device in the cab, right at their fingertips. Doesn't require cell coverage. All these documents are there. The cool thing is you could have 10 items attached to a vehicle, but those items will not be in your library unless you have that vehicle selected. So if I'm driving that vehicle 400 and there's a picture and the registration and all that's there, when I deselect that vehicle or choose a different vehicle, the data goes away. So we are only presenting to the drivers and the users the data that's relevant. So you can have a whole library on the back end, but the drivers don't have to sort through it. They only see what they need to see and you want them to see. So this is probably, out of the 5 that we're going to talk about, number 3, the digital library. This is probably the most popular. People really love it, and they're using it to drive value. Again, you got this device that you invested, it's sitting in the cab, there's a data plan on it. Yes, you need it for ELD, but what else can I get out of it? And this is, again, by keeping these documents within your ELD platform, your system, the platform, the software platform that we have, you control the data and the documents and who can see it. And we even have, when you enter a document, it asks you to, as an option, to fill out an expiration date. And then you can run reports and have all of your documents in your database sorted by expiration dates. You know, have that delivered to an admin person every Monday morning. They can see everything that's coming due in the next week, and they can take preventive action to replace or update that document before it becomes outdated. So digital library, really popular, really a lot of value there for everyone. The 4th case study or use case that we're going to talk about is our mobile app. And again, our mobile app is free. All you need is a username and a password. Your driver credentials typically will give you access to the mobile app. There's all kinds of different screens. You can, if you're a driver, you can see your screens of your status, where you're at on your, and that actually says my name. You can see the status of where you're at on your hours, when your recap is, all the other, you can actually go view your logs and everything, which is right here on the second one, logbook detail. You can also see your scorecard information, lots of different options in here, previous week, current week. If you have cameras, which everyone on the call will have cameras at some point, just because the insurance companies are driving that market adoption. So when you have cameras, the camera data will be available right in the palm of your hand as well. We can also have unique screens for different types of assets that you may have, whether it's relevant or not. We have all kinds of different assets like we talked earlier that we support. This one happens to show an oil tank, and you can see that we can identify the percentage of oil and the percentage of water, which was very important to someone. We also offer landmarks, which are, just think of them as points of interest. You can upload as many as you want into Pedigree, 1,000 at a time. If you had 8,000, you just do it in 8 uploads. They live in the system. There's default geofences, or the little landmark circles around each one, so that you can run reports on a landmark and see who's there. So this screenshot happens to be landmarks that are focused on well data and rig data for oil and gas vertical, but for transportation, it could be hotels, it could be fuel places, popular food, rest stops, customer locations, whatever you wanted, you can upload, and then it's just an overlay that you can turn on or off on your map when you're looking at the mobile app. So that's the mobile app. Number 4, and I'm hoping for some questions. That's why I'm kind of going through this semi-fast, so that we can leave enough time for questions. Last but not least, number 5, our maintenance platform is probably our most overlooked feature. I think it's because not every system has a maintenance platform built in. Our maintenance platform is actually pretty smart. Smart analytics are built into it. So when you schedule a maintenance on a vehicle, as an example, you can say, I want to change the oil every 7,000 miles, 300 hours of runtime, or every 5 months. And the system is smart enough to look at all 3 of those data points and project out when that maintenance is going to be due. So most of our people just get a report that's auto canned. It pushes. You don't have to go and pull it. It pushes to you every week, Monday morning. Typically goes to the maintenance people, and they can see all the maintenance items that are coming due for that week and take care of them. Also, failed inspections from drivers doing DVIRs are integrated with our maintenance platform. So drivers doing an inspection, an item fails, he's required to obviously make notes or comments on that failed item. He can take a picture of it, and then it automatically goes to the maintenance people. They fix it, and they write their comments on what they did to the repair, and goes back to the driver or next driver of that vehicle to not only review that they can see the mechanic's notes as to what's been done on the previous failed inspections. So that's pretty cool how it goes back and forth. People like that. You can also enter non-scheduled maintenance items so that you can basically build the maintenance platform to become a cost center of your vehicles, your assets. So we always hear the story that, hey, the owner was at the auction on Monday and he came back with 2 new trucks. Not planned, just got a deal on them. We need to put them out in the fleet right away. Which 2 should we rotate out of the inventory? Well, we always say go into Pedigree and run a cost report on your vehicles. And if you've been entering your repairs and your PMs and your all the expenses that you had, that would be available in a nice sorted spreadsheet. So boom, you can get your information just like that quick. Annual inspections is something that, talking with Brett and Mark, it's something that tends to get overlooked. It's maybe low-hanging fruit, but it's got to get done. So might as well set up a maintenance reoccurring event, make it reoccur every year, notify somebody 60 days in advance, whatever you want, and the system will take care of all that. So all you have to do is put in your parameters, and the system will push you the data when it's relevant to you. We also have diagnostic codes, so diagnostic trouble codes. You can filter them out and get the important ones delivered to you even real time via text message. So that allows you to take, you get a text message that a certain asset's got 3 coolant alarms within an hour. You probably want to make a phone call to that driver and say, hey, I need you to pull over and do a radiator check for me. And that's happened. That's a real story. We actually saved someone from blowing their engine because of that. So that allows you to take some preventive actions. And of course, alarms can be set up on any parameter that lives as a data point within the system. So whether you want that delivered text message, whether you want that via email or both, whether you want it to go to multiple people, you can even require them to acknowledge that they received it. And if they don't acknowledge it, you can push it to the next level, depending on what the data is or what the alarm sensitivity is. So we have a whole hierarchy of notification. At the end of the day, if you don't have a team that works with you to put the rubber to the road, essentially help you set up these different, the scorecards, the digital library, train your people on messaging protocols on if you want to implement that into your operation, and using the mobile app. If you actually put some good training and efforts into that, you can get a lot more value out of the information that's likely already sitting in your cab. So that's what we wanted to cover, just sharing 5 use cases. Again, scorecard, communications, digital library, the mobile app, and maintenance. I told Brett that I'd try to keep the meeting, since we're at an hour, try to cut the time off at about 30 minutes. Angela is our executive vice president of our transportation division. She's on the call as well. Even though I've been doing most of the talking, she's here available. And we'd like to turn it over back to Brett and see if there's any questions that any of you have or feedback, comments that you'd like us to answer.
All right, thanks, Jim. So I just want to remind everyone that I just want to remind everyone that you can submit your questions in. They're anonymous, so you don't have to worry about being identified as the one or asking the question. But before we get to the questions, Jim, I wanted to bring up a couple more points that I know from my experience. You touched a little bit on landmarks and how I've used those in the past, in addition to what you've identified. So if you have suspicious activity, or if you have a policy where a vehicle is not allowed to be taken home, for example, or taken on vacation, could be a lighter duty vehicle and taken on vacation, you can set up geofences for certain areas and then create alerts like Jim said, and this is regardless if you're using Pedigree or whomever, most of them offer this. So you can create an alert where you get notified as soon as that vehicle crosses that geofence. And it's become very helpful, even in cases where vehicles become stolen, that if it's off use time and you see movement of a vehicle, where you get notified that via text message, you can immediately get on it and notify the authorities. So just want to mention that. Also, I wanted to mention that just like everything else, if similar like if you have a policy and a company policy and you're not enforcing that policy, that can definitely work against you. The same thing goes with the ELD data. If that information is available to you, so for example, if you have a driver that is routinely speeding and creates speeding events, or following too closely and things like that, that's information that you can get alerts on, you can set up, and you can monitor that through reporting. If you're not doing anything with that and that individual ends up in a serious crash where it can be where speed or following too closely, the examples that I just gave are contributing factors, then unfortunately the plaintiff's attorneys are going to come back and they're going to subpoena all that ELD data. Now, you can count on that, and they're going to use that information against you. So that's kind of a recommendation that I would offer, that if it's there, you need to monitor it and you need to act on it. So with that, we had a few questions that came in prior to the webinar. So Jim or Angela, I'll run through these with you. And again, anybody can ask any other questions via the question tab up on the webinar. But the first one is, can you provide feedback to drivers on KPIs you have established for your fleet? If so, what are the KPIs you can provide?
So I can take that one, Brett. This is Angela. Good afternoon to everyone. We capture quite a bit of data. So the way that we see most people focusing are in a couple of areas, and we've kind of structured the data to help them solve these problems. So things to help you control costs, like how can I improve my MPG? So you want to monitor idle time, speeding. So you may set up some KPIs and metrics around how long is a vehicle idling, how is a driver speeding, is he having a lot of harsh braking or rapid acceleration. So there's a lot of things there that you can do to help around MPG. Things that Brett touched on a moment ago. Now that ELD is required for everyone, there's just this wealth of information out there. So putting KPIs in place that help promote a safety culture and, monitoring those things, having standards for your fleet and having a communication loop to where you are capturing that information, you are communicating with the driver on how they are adhering to your safety standards. So, we capture, the same sort of things that I talked about a moment ago around fuel, which are, are they tailgating? So are they having like harsh braking occurrences? Are they, having to rapidly accelerate to try to get around someone? What kind of things are they doing? Are they hard cornering? So we capture all of those items and, help people set up and weigh them to how they're going to bring value to their business. And one of the, another area that a lot of people tend to get a lot of benefit out of is KPIs around customer service. So what kind of things are you doing to ensure that your driver is efficiently servicing your customer? So setting up parameters around, arrival times, did he, arrive at the customer at the time that he was scheduled to? Was he late? Was he delayed? And having a way to capture that and understand, is the driver the problem that we're having with our customer, or is our customer the problem? And helping you understand, how you can take those metrics and have meaningful conversations with your drivers and customers to improve customer service.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. All right, another one here. And I know this is, in our role being consultants to the industry, we run across a lot of different providers of ELD. And I've run into this where some of the systems they claim they can do it, but when it comes to reality, they have a tough time doing it. And that is, can drivers access their driver logs offline? And if so, how?
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that. Several different ways. All you need is an internet browser. So you can go to a computer, you can go to a kiosk, you can go to the Pedigree Technologies website. There's a driver link to log in, which gives you access to changing your duty status. Like I brought up earlier, if your team has a mobile app on their phone, they can go to their mobile app and they can log in and change their duty status and then log back out. So they can't do it for driving, but it's just if you're changing duty statuses or want to look at your logbook, which is what most of those questions are kind of centered around. I'm not in the vehicle. How can I do it? So to answer your question, Brett, any internet browser, whether you can even use, your browser on your phone or the mobile app, would be the best way to do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next one is, how do drivers receive ongoing training or refreshers?
So I can take that, and I can speak for how we do it at Pedigree, but a lot of people in the industry do it different ways. But making it convenient for the driver, our system actually has some built-in training library that includes videos and inline text-sensitive help. So if the driver's in an area and he needs to know how to edit a log, he can just hit the help button and it'll walk him through the steps that he needs to do to complete an edit or to certify his log. So, making it as simple as possible. If whoever your provider is, working with them to make sure that the driver has a quick and easy way to get help when he needs it, because the last thing you want is your driver out on the road struggling with a roadside inspection or not being able to accurately record his duty status while he's out on a trip.
Yeah, I'd like to just add a comment to that as well, Angela. The training modules that are on the tablet are broken down by topic, and they're about 2 minutes each. So it's not, hey, pull over and you got to go to school, or you got to sort through this long. It's purpose built around, how do I enter a fuel purchase? It's been a while since I found someone that didn't take my fuel card. How do I do a fuel purchase? How do I end my day? How do I start my day? How do I do an inspection? All of these subject matters are broken into topics, and they're quick. They're downloaded onto the tablet. You don't need to be in cell coverage to listen to them, so you can use them in an offline environment as well. And they're actually our trainer, our lead trainer from our corporate office doing the talking. So there's some familiarity there if you've been through any of our training classes with at least the same voice. And a lot of our training videos now are available in Spanish as well. So just a couple notes. As our product continues to evolve and update every 2 weeks, we push new stuff out. The training videos are updated as well. So the training videos will always reflect the current software features.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So let me just give a kind of a testimonial here for Pedigree that I've seen them do that I've not seen from other providers that I've worked with in the past, and that is they do a good job of monitoring, the safety performance of of their clients, and if they see that the client's having issues in a specific area relative to ELD performance, they will reach out to that client and offer assistance. And that's kind of unique in the industry from what I've seen. So I just wanted to provide that as a kudos to you folks for doing that. That concludes all the questions. Again, if you think of other questions after the call, certainly feel free to email those to Mark or myself. Our email addresses are there on the screen. And I just want to thank everybody for their time and participation in today's webinar. I know everybody's time is valuable. Next month, please join us for our next free monthly webinar. Topic will be announced later. If you have any specific requests that you would like from a topic standpoint on a webinar, certainly feel free to send us a suggestion on that, and we will do our best to fulfill that. Until then, well, first of all, let me again thank Angela and Jim for your participation. And so until then, please be safe and let us know if we can be of any assistance with your transportation needs.